Welcome to Let's Say on a Teacher's Salary. My name is Asanda and I've been permanently employed in the Eastern Cape since May 2023 at the age of 34, going on 35, and now I am 36. Okay, so first, the two-piece I showed in the previous video that was sitting there, it's tiny now. It doesn't fit properly, and I'm okay with admitting that. But I wore it today because I just can't get rid of it, pieces of the performer me. Anyway, I've never been comfortable with wearing strapless bras, so this is how we're going. So we are doing two topics. One is the bilingual learning, and another one is should teachers in grade 1 be paid the same as grade 12 teachers? We're gonna do that one last. Let's do the bilingual learning first. Okay, so in South Africa we have 11 official languages, and then we have other languages that didn't make it. For example, my home language, Isimpondo, did not make it to the list. It just got, I guess it got underput with isiXhosa, but Isimpondo is not a dialect of isiXhosa, by the way. The Pondo people and its kingdom are a separate people, are their own people. They live between the Zulus and the Xhosas. They're in between. That's why they speak their own languages, which is okay. Even within the Isimpondo, you get like different versions of it. That's how much people they are. Okay, teaching the kids in both languages. The problems that were raised by, I'm seeing being raised by people is that we're teaching already now, we're teaching in provinces that we don't speak their language. How are we going to cope? What are they going to do with us? Will I lose my job? First of all, you're not going to lose your job. The fact that they're changing things in the middle of nowhere has nothing to do with you. They will figure it out. And you will also try to figure it out as well. Of course, it's your responsibility to also figure some things out, but they're not going to fire you. If you're a permanent employee, they're not going to fire you. They can't do that. Okay. Secondly, it's that people are saying, but English is a global language and China is moving towards teaching their people English. Yes, China is investing a lot of money for their people to learn English, but that doesn't mean they're stopping the schools that people are learning in their own language. They're not stopping that. And us introducing bilingual rather than monolingual in home language, I think it's a better move for the country. Look, it's already happening anyway. For example, I teach maths literacy. I could never in my community teach only in English. I have to code switch. And the fact that now they're making it official, it's just another advantage for the children. Now, people are going to say, oh, our children are already coming out of these schools struggling to speak English. Guys, the problem is not that the children are struggling to speak English because of schools. That's not schools. That's you, the parents. You're the problem. If you want your child to learn a certain language, you invest in that. You don't rely on a government system. A government system is general. It is a one-size-fits-all thing. So if you want your child to be advanced in English, you don't leave it to the schools. If you want your child to be ahead in mathematics and programming, no matter how much education they bring to the schools, it's an overall one-size-fits-all system. You still have to invest on your child participation. Take, for example, the parents whose children are models. Right? So if you want your child to participate in that world, and of course your child also has to be interested, even if your school does support that extramural activity, you still as a parent have to be the one in the forefront. You can't just be like, oh, the school will nurture my child's languages, and my school will nurture my child's talents. And what are you going to do? You're going to cook for them and dish them for them? That's it? Holistically. I say this because we get children who are in grade 10. They can't even read the clock. You know why your children can't read the clock? Is because you've left it to the system. You've left it to the system for your child The children can't even learn can't count money properly because you've left that to the system. But the system is a one size fits all. If your child doesn't fit properly into the thingy, you are the one who's supposed to make the outfit fit. Go right now to your 14, 15, 16-year-old child and say, point at an analog clock and say, what's the time? Do they know what the time is? Can they tell you, like, oh, it's 20 to 6? Are they able to do that? It's 7:15. It's 7:25 in the morning. Are they able to do that? See, that's the problem right there. If you ask your child right now, if I gave you 100 rand and asked you to go buy a bread that's 7.99 rand, how much will be the change? Can they calculate it in their head? 7.99 rand from 20 bucks or 100 bucks. Can they calculate it in their head? It is your responsibility. It's not the school's responsibility to teach your child that. That is basic everyday skills that you also use every day. Look at everything that you use every single day. Are you teaching your child how to have it easy when they deal with those things? As I'm saying, it's not the school that's the problem. These children learning in both their home language and English is not making them know English less. The reason they don't know English or they can't speak it properly is because they're not practicing the language. That's it. You make sure your child reads. You make sure that your child practices a language that you want them to know, including the home language. If you want, I'm telling you right now, go to your child who's learning a home language at school. Take a book and give it to them and say, read. You will see disaster. You will see things you've never seen before. You will be like, oh, but you're 14. You can't even read a basic book. I'm telling you, in your home language. Because you are expecting the school that has a one-size-fits-all system to turn your child into a master. Participate in your child's development. That's all. But then parents don't like to hear that because it's too much work for them. The parents were homeschooling their children during COVID, by the way. There's restrictions. What were you doing with your children during the restriction? Oh, it is so nice. I love having this conversation because I don't have a child. It's not, I can judge without experience. Anyway, these things are not easy. I understand that. But your child is a human being. They're not a dog. Even dogs that taught tricks. They're not a dog where you feed them and clothe them and put them to sleep. You also need to nurture their mind and emotions. They're a human being. Anyway, so when it comes to bilingual learning, we in high schools have already been implementing that. I'll make you an example with the subject that I teach, mass literacy. Already, my learners are allowed to answer definitions and these questions where they are supposed to write what they think, conclusions and all this stuff, make conclusions or give reasons. They're allowed to write that in their home language. Seriously, I'm telling you, they're going to mark it right. They're marking it right now at marking centers for grade 12. Your child, I'll make you an example of why bilingual is not a problem at all. So, if you were to ask me, what is the color of this wall, right? And I say to you, oh, the color of that wall, imhlophe. Would you then say, I don't know the color of that wall? I got my marks. I'm correct. Just because I don't know that color in English doesn't mean I don't know that color. So they'll say, because I can't write English or because I can't speak English, they'll say you're illiterate. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are literate in a different language. That's what it is. And unfortunately, in South Africa, we used to measure literacy with being literate in English, which is stupid. So if you are biliterate, that means I can ask you a question in English and you can answer the question in your home language. It doesn't mean that you don't know. It just means you know it. You are able to express yourself better in the home language. For example, in Mandibuza, if I know buza uba unjani umbala wodonga, and then wena ut white. Does that mean you don't know? It doesn't mean you don't know. So this I like this because we've been doing it. It's not even an introduction of something new. This is just something we've already been doing. I've been doing since the beginning of my teaching, where I code switch. We used to call it code switch. Now it's going to become legal, and it's just something that we're going to do it. And the question papers will come in both languages, which is awesome. Which is what the last time, oh, that was a long time ago, when I wrote my driver's license, learner's license. It came in both languages, and I remember not understanding the question in English and paging the other side and reading it in Zulu, and I was like, oh, that's what they want, and then I answered it. So no, don't worry about your child learning in a bilingual. Teachers are already doing it. The only problem are the teachers who don't know the language. Let's say, for example, you are Tswana, and now you are expected in Eastern Cape to teach with the kids in their home language as well, and it's like, oh, you were still even learning the language. Ooh, I understand the frustration there. Are they going to fire you? Of course not. They're going to have to make a plan, and you're going to have to make a plan as well, because they're going to give you a one-size-fits-all solution. You're going to have to fit yourself somewhere. All right. Before this video becomes too long, let's get to the juicy one. Should grade 1 teachers get the same income as grade 12 teachers? Do they though? Do they get the same salary? Yes. In public schools, grade 1 to grade 12 is the same salary. The difference, of course, the major difference is the number of years you've been teaching due to increment. Then the income becomes different. Otherwise, a grade 1 teacher with a grade 12 teacher hired at the same time with the same qualification, just maybe that they majored in different phases of teaching, they will earn the same amount of money. Now, quick question. How do I feel about that? As a grade 12 teacher, I'm having this conversation because I've already had this conversation with someone, and they were asking me, like, what do you guys do? Because this person was like talking about how I complain that it's too much. They were like, what do you guys do? So I'm like, I have to teach, and then 2, we have overcrowded classes. Another thing is I have to be a tutor at the same time. So my kids, where I am, they can't afford to pay for tutors. They kind of, of course, this is not all of them, but majority, like I would say 90%, would not afford to pay for tutors, as they struggle to even survive on a daily basis. And then we have the problem of culture of learning. I don't know, maybe in other places, maybe in cities it's much better. In the areas that I'm at, the culture of learning is very, very bad. The learners that you're teaching, you have to sit on them and make sure. As I've said before, it is very difficult to get help from the parents, because when I send the child to you after school, you are supposed to take over and make sure at least an hour a day is dedicated to schooling. Maybe an hour before the child goes to sleep, maybe an hour and a half for slower children. Just a little bit of time is dedicated to learning. Why? Because you want your child to learn, unless you don't want your child to learn. It doesn't have to be, I'm not a fan of homeworks, but yeah, it doesn't have to be like the child is now cramming everything in. It's about consistent behavior. That's what it should be about. So what we do is we then do a system where we keep the children longer at school, and we just try to make sure that time they should be spending studying at home, they are doing it at school. It is very hard, guys. On a day, that most of the time I just feel like a day doesn't have enough hours. And then there's weekends and Sundays, it's holidays, it's really exhausting. So that was how the person was asking me. And after I laid it out for them, and they were like, wait a minute, and they pay you the same as grade 1 teachers? Yes, they do. So how do I feel about that? To tell you the truth, I don't care. I really don't care. Like, pay, as long as the grade one teacher is being paid the same as me rather than more than me, I don't care. Pay the grade one teachers the same as grade 12 teachers. It won't affect me as a grade 12 teacher. It doesn't take anything away from me. Another thing is, if we start making the income different, we are creating a new problem. And that is, when I get kids in grade 10, they can write, they know how to put sentences together, they communicate in a way where you like, okay, this child has been at school for a while. You know, the schooling is there, the system. So when I get them, they're at the end of their basic education career, and I'm just taking them to the end. I'm not teaching them how to write. I'm not teaching them how to read. Well, that's debatable. You know, they're already being taught. So the people that they're going through, I need them to be at their best, to give the children their best, so that when the kids get to me at the end in the FET phase, they are, you know, they're good. They've gone through proper education, and I don't have to struggle. So if I say pay the teachers in the lower grades less, I'm literally saying they deserve less. Their work is not good enough, which is not true. Not true. Do I want to go to grade one and teach grade ones how to read and write? No. Hell no. Sounds like a lot of work to me. No, I'd rather be at school at 9 o'clock revising with the grade 12. No, thank you. Mm-mm. So yeah, I really, it doesn't bother me at all. I say pay the teachers fairly, like everybody else. Grade 1, grade 5, grade 9, grade 10, grade 12. You know, doesn't matter. Pay them the same. Regulate the income. Regulated income actually creates, you know, a much more harmonious life. So yes, in South Africa, the government pays everyone the same. Generally, that's what I'm saying. Generally, everybody gets paid the same, whether they're grade 1 or grade 12. Whew. Oh, before we close this, the Bella Bill, they are now taking preschools from SASA and putting it on the grade 12, on the basic education, under basic education. My hope is that preschools are then going to be treated like grade R, you know, where they're going to regulate it. And, you know, and I'm also hoping that this is going to allow the Department of Education to build proper preschools. Like, a preschool is supposed to have like more than one room. Why do those preschools have one room? Like, no, there should be like divisions and different classrooms for different ages. Hello? I mean, come on.